what is your overall perspective on Bitcoin?
Well, I won't try to explain exactly technically where it's good, bad, or indifferent. I will argue more the case for the legalization of freedom of choice. And the people should make the decision, not the government. And I don't know the answers of that because some people are enthusiastic about it and think that that's the only money that will exist and will replace the dollar. I think the dollar is going to be around, but it's not going to be worth much. And but payment of bills and the legal tender laws force you to use legal tender, so they won't even allow you to replace the dollars with a cryptocurrency. There will be laws against that. And but I wanted to totally legalize it. I think our problem isn't the technicalities of the gold standard or crypto. Our problems are the dependency on government and less concern about personal liberty. And what about property rights and contract rights? This is what we need to be concentrating on. And right now, though, people are interested in, what the laws are regarding crypto and gold and all these things. But right now, our biggest threat in this last year, people haven't awakened to the point of what a horrible year where the Federal Reserve and the monetary authorities put on these sanctions and literally lock us up in our houses and make us wear masks that nobody's proven a mask is any good for you. It does when you might be doing surgery in a hospital, and I wore a mask then, but no, the mask is no proof of it. The lack of competition, say in medicine, when they had a good medication like hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, they take it off the market. They made it illegal to use it. And that's what I want to make sure people can use the gold and silver and save their money in it and not ever have to pay any taxes on the increase in the value of your substitute for money, which means you'd have to dramatically reduce the size and scope of government. And that's where the hang up is. No, there's nobody in Washington. No, there's a few people, a handful or two. But no, the Republicans and Democrats have the same goals, spend a lot of money. When Republicans have been in charge, the deficits go up just as much and sometimes more, and that's what they depend on. You don't have the Republicans and the Democrats, arguing over the Federal Reserve or the budget. They don't argue over the foreign policy. Oh yeah, they debate the foreign policy, but nobody wants to cut a nickel out of that monstrous bubble in the military spending, and we spend more than 70% of the other nations put together, and we always have to be more. We got to be prepared. There's another war coming, and that's how they beat the drums of war. While I was there in the early part of this century, 10 years. And no, we've been in Afghanistan for 20 years. But that's good for the military-industrial complex. That's what has to be challenged. So the money issue, for me, in some ways, is a side issue because if you really had what I'm talking about, the contract would decide which money you're going to draw your contract up in. And if you wanted to draw up your contract in gold ounces, you could, or if you wanted to draw up their contract in crypto. Right. That you could do that. Right now, not too many people are doing that.
But do you think, though, Dr. Paul, to your point, because the government and central banks have so much to lose, so much power to relinquish, that as you mentioned earlier, they will somehow intervene, crack down, regulate, increase taxes, stand in the way of the real rise and potential of Bitcoin?
Yes, but I would apply that same concern to gold.
Right.
Because, what was the first thing Roosevelt did in 1933? He immediately took all the gold from the people. It was $20 an ounce, and he pushed it up to $35 an ounce. And they do that, made it illegal. And the American people tolerated it all the way from 34 up to 1975, over 40 years. Americans weren't allowed to own gold. in the early 80s, I worked real hard and prodded them along to legalize gold and silver. And at least you can buy silver eagle and gold eagles, but you need to legalize freedom. And that I think is the hardest thing for people to accept, because they want to be taken care of. And that's why, right now people are very content that are receiving nice checks every month. They're so content they don't want to go work, and there's jobs going back. It's one of the weirdest things. This predicting exactly what's going on right now would have been a hard prediction, but it's understandable from an Austrian viewpoint. Things like this can happen, but it doesn't make sense. But what does make sense, it can't last. You can't create wealth out of thin air. The duplication of monetary units has nothing to do with wealth. It undermines and destroys and dilutes wealth.